Welcome back to the Boilermaker Breakdown. I'm your host, Matthew Stout. Ahead, we'll take a look to the good starts for both golf teams and another record-breaking day for track and field. But first, our top story. It was a fantastic weekend right here on Katy Court. The men's basketball team got the weekend going with a dismantling of in-state rival IU. The Boilermakers led by 5 at the half, then opened up the second half scoring on a 14-1 run to blow the game wide open. Coach Painter's team led by as many as 25 in the second half before finally closing it out 82-64. Sterling Carter led the way with 19 points while Ronnie Johnson added 16. The Boilermakers shot over 55% from three-point range and over 75% from the free throw line. It was a great win for the Old Gold and Black in the only meeting between these teams this season. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, the women's basketball team made an epic comeback Sunday afternoon to take down Iowa. Purdue trailed by 16 at the half, but used red-hot shooting in the final 20 minutes to pull out a 74-73 win. The Boilermakers shot over 57% from the field in the second half, while hitting 6 of 8 from downtown. Courtney Moses led the way with 25 points on the day as the 23rd-ranked Boilermakers improved to 18-7 on the year, 8-5 in the Big Ten. There was even more excitement in Mackey Arena this weekend as the university welcomed back one of its all-time greats, Joe Barry Carroll. The two-time All-American led the Boilermakers to the 1980 Final Four before being selected first overall in the NBA draft. When Joe was here, we caught up with him with this exclusive interview.
I was grateful to be granted a scholarship to this world-class institution, and Purdue's always had a certain kind of reputation, good. And so coming here was just what I was going to do to make that happen, and then to have the reception that I did, as they do for all the players, really. I mean, it wasn't just me, because they had no way of knowing when I was a freshman, 220-pound freshman, that I would end up being an All-American. But they treat all the players that way. You know, I did some good things. I think it was successful, but because of the way it comes in little bits and pieces along the way, and until you read your biography, you're not really aware of it that much, because when something happens, like you get a triple-double or something, you just move on to the next thing. Not because you're indifferent to that, but it's just the way it is. You got to keep moving. And the fans just blow this building, blow the roof off of it. I've never experienced that since, in terms of that level of volume. In the NBA, you get that in the playoffs, but it's just every night here. They got to be the biggest basketball folk in the world. Yeah. Everybody should be a bobblehead once in their life. If not, they can claim the other bobbleheads because they're fairly generic in nature. So you got that's mine. Yeah.
Joe Barry, do you think we should take a look at the rest of the highlights? Joe says yes. Let's take a look at the rest of the week. The men's golf team opened the season with the Big Ten Match Play Championships down in Florida. The Boilermakers lost in the championship round in a tiebreaker to Michigan after defeating Minnesota and Northwestern to reach the finals. Meanwhile, the women's golf team tied for 6th at their season-opening event, the Lady Puerto Rico Classic. Junior Aurora Khan took the individual crown, finishing the tournament at 5 under par. Meanwhile, the track and field team hosted its final home event of the indoor season and once again saw school records fall. Sierra Brown set a new mark in the triple jump, becoming the first woman at Purdue to jump over 13 meters in the event, and Matt McClintock shattered the school record in the 5K while competing at Iowa State. The men's tennis team returned home after 3 weeks on the road and swept a pair of meets against IUPUI and Valparaiso. The Boilermakers beat the Jaguars 6-1 and defeated the Crusaders 5-2 at the Schwartz Tennis Center on Saturday. Purdue now stands at 4-1 on the season and has won the last 3 straight. The women's team headed to Arkansas, where they split a pair against ranked opponents. The Boilermakers fell to 24th-ranked Oklahoma on Saturday, but defeated the host Razorbacks on Sunday. The Boilermakers are now 4-3 on the year. The softball team had an up-and-down weekend, going 3-2 at the Kickin' Chicken Classic in South Carolina. Purdue split a pair with Coastal Carolina, defeated Syracuse, and split a pair with Towson on the weekend. Purdue is now 4-1 on the young season. Junior Ashley Burkhart was named the Big Ten Co-Player of the Week after the tournament when she hit .533 with 12 RBIs and 8 runs. Baseball dropped the season-opening series at Tennessee, getting swept by the Vols in 3 straight. Purdue battled weather issues all weekend long and had a series with Nebraska-Omaha canceled. And the wrestling team wrapped up its regular season with a hard-fought loss on the road to 5th-ranked Northern Iowa. Purdue did get nice upset victories from Danny Sabatello and Patrick Kissel. They now get a few weeks off before the Big Ten Championships the first week of March. It's the 100th season of the Big Ten Medal of Honor, celebrating academic and athletic excellence. This week we have a new feature as our own Corey Palm takes a dive into the Purdue archives to celebrate one of our past winners.
In 1922, track and field distance runner Cliff Furness earned the Big Ten Medal of Honor. An Olympian in the 1920 Games in Antwerp, Belgium, Furness returned to Purdue to compete for the Boilermakers and earn his engineering degree. He went on to teach chemical engineering at Yale University, serve as the president of the State University of New York at Buffalo, and served in multiple capacities for the Department of Defense under 3 presidential administrations. A very accomplished career for this former distance runner at Purdue University.
It's championship season for winter sports around the conference, beginning this week with women's swimming and diving getting things rolling. The women's championship event runs from Wednesday through Saturday at the University of Minnesota. The Boilermakers head to the event looking to improve upon their 5th place finish from last season. Good luck to Coach Klingy and company. The men's basketball team gets right back at it Thursday night as Michigan State comes to Mackey Arena. The Boilermakers then head to Nebraska on Sunday to take on a red-hot Cornhusker team. The women travel to Minnesota Thursday night, then return home to take on Wisconsin Sunday afternoon at Mackey. Baseball heads to Houston for a weekend series against Rice University. Softball, meanwhile, goes to Auburn, Alabama for a pair of games Saturday and 2 more on Sunday. Track and field goes back to South Bend for the Alex Wilson Invitational, the final tune-up before Big Ten Indoor Championships. And the men's golf team heads to Puerto Rico for the Puerto Rico Classic. As always, check PurdueSports.com for constant updates. And don't forget to catch us next week on The Breakdown. Until then, boiler up, hammer down, and hail Purdue.